Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Aggie, and with me is my awesome co-host, Rowdy Rick. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. And in honor of tonight's topic, I have a special opening. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. Okay, I'm over it now.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, so I texted and I'm like, what do you want to talk about today? She like takes forever to answer me, and she's like, I don't know if I'm even gonna be able to do the show, but I kind of want to talk about flowers. I'm like, wait, you want to talk about flowers? Okay.
Yes. Well, it's April and it's showers outside. I mean, seriously, I got hit the major thunderstorm. We had tornado warnings.
So I realized this show started in kind of in one of its iterations was Chick Chat, but I'm not a chick.
I know. Chick Chat. Boy, that was a long time ago.
I actually had to do research because I was like, I don't even have a favorite flower, but that's not necessarily true. I have some weird favorite flowers because I'm a guy. So some of what I consider my favorite flowers might actually be other people's least favorite flowers.
Well, a lot of people are like flowers, but I know everybody appreciates flowers. It doesn't matter what, guy, gal, it doesn't matter. People love flowers. They bring joy, There's some that don't, admittedly. That horrendous, huge flower in the middle of the Amazon that stinks to high heaven, that does not bring joy. But, for the most part,
Funny thing is,
They
I
do.
think you just mentioned one of my like top 2 favorites. I'm just saying, just because it's weird, unusual.
The really ugly one in the middle of the Amazon.
Are you? It depends, because when you mentioned really bad, terrible smell, the first thing I thought of was the corpse flower.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
That actually happens to be one of my favorites, just because it's weird.
Okay. Well, to each their own.
I'm a dude. We don't look at flowers the same way as you guys do. You guys are like, oh, those are so pretty, and we're like, yeah, no, give me something that eats things, or at least smells like it tried to.
Well, admittedly, it doesn't flower very often. So I understand why it does and why it tries to attract what it does. So it makes sense. It's just, okay.
But yeah, so that's the topic for tonight. We're going to be discussing flowers. I may or may not have to run off and change into a dress or something before the show's over. I haven't decided yet.
I just thought, hey, the whole adage, April showers bring May flowers, and today has been a really bad weather day for me, and there's a lot of showers going on. Luckily, the tornado warning has been lifted. But there's flash flood warning in effect for the area, and anyone that lives in Texas knows that is to be taken very seriously. So I'm glad that I have something to do to make me stay home, which is the podcast. So that's nice.
Hey, Raptor, wifey's not here. You can wipe your nose, bro. Love you, man. Just kidding.
That's sweet that he does that. That is sweet that he does that.
It's probably why he still has a wifey and I don't.
I buy my own flowers. I don't wait for anybody. I'm like, you know what? I feel like having flowers today. I went to the store. I got some flowers. And they don't have to be high priced flowers. They could be, whatever. I think the other day I actually, they had the day old flowers in a bucket on the clearance section. I grabbed some of those. There was only 2 of them were wilted. So I just pulled them out, put them in a vase, put the rest in a vase, and it looked pretty on the table. So, and I like it. It's something for you to appreciate. You don't have to wait for somebody to buy you flowers ever.
Aggie's walking into the flower shop. I can buy myself flowers. Oh wait, sorry.
Oh goodness. Anyway, but yes, tonight's topic is our favorite and least favorite. So we have 2, the most favorite and the least favorite, 2 lists, And
yeah,
I don't know.
One list about flowers wasn't enough. We had to do 2.
And here's the thing. I was really quick putting down the ones that I don't like. But it took me forever to narrow down the ones I do like. That was kind of weird. And I left out a lot. But the ones that I don't like, I know that's a fixed set because that has never changed. So I was quick to write those. It was the ones who I liked the most that was really hard.
Well, because I mean, you're a chick. What you like changes one minute to the next. Oh wait, I'm sorry. That sounded bitter. Not really.
I honestly, when people actually try to gift me the flowers, I have expressed from my family members, if they do want to do that for Mother's Day or for my birthday, I prefer a potted plant. Let's give it a chance to live. The cut flowers are going to die, but let's give something a chance to live, And I still have one of the potted plants that I received from a friend of mine as a thank you for something. It's still alive 4 years later. I'm so proud of that. You cannot possibly understand how proud I am that plant is still going strong. Of course, it's a mother-in-law tongues plant, so but it has propagated in the pot, and it's gotten really big. He gave me a tiny one, and now it's huge. So that was nice.
Nice. Maybe Raptor should have co-hosted this one. He's like naming off flowers in the chat. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna like my favorites because they're all weird for the most
Well,
part.
we could start with the least favorite and then go to the most favorite.
Well, yeah, but I mean, whichever one you want to do, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's do the least favorite ones.
All right, so
People are not gonna like this. Okay,
You're gonna
so
go in ascending or descending order, and you go first.
descending 5 to 1, I guess.
Sure.
All right. So yeah, and this is gonna probably hurt Raptors' feelings, but my number 5 that I really don't care for is the Canna.
Oh,
I get it from it's like a Monet. Okay. So from afar, those flowers look really pretty. You know, the green is such a beautiful green, and the flowers, the yellow, the orange, the red, very striking colors. But when you get up close, for me, it just looks like the flowers threw up, and I can't get that out of my head. It's always looked like they're throwing up. Ironically, I have some in one of my flower beds that I on purpose bought and put in because I know several family members really like them. My mom, I think it's one of her favorite flowers. My husband really likes them, and so I just said, okay, we'll put them here, but be advised, it's not my favorite flower. And of course, everybody else, you have the rest of the flower beds, and I said, you're right. But they always look like they were throwing up to me. It looks like the stem grows and then bleh.
So what you're saying is they gave you flashbacks of that one time in college when you were helping your drunk friends.
I've always felt that way about them. I don't know why. Even when I was little, and they were my aunt had them all along the east side of the house, and I mean and she had them terraced because she lived on a hill. She had them terraced, so she had it almost looked like the Spanish flag. One whole section was red, then the below section was orange, and the below section was yellow, and it was gorgeous. But up close, I just think they're throwing up. I don't know why, but yeah. Anyway, how about you?
We're doing least of the least favorites, not most favorite. No, most least favorite first. So I was confused for a second. So my number 5 least favorite would have to be lilies. I don't like them.
Which one?
Lilies.
Ooh, what kind of lilies?
Well, I mean, so it's weird because I like the concept of like the fleur de lis, but the flower that it's based on, which is a type of a lily, I don't like.
So like the stargazer lilies,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
daylilies, the tiger lilies.
honestly, pretty much any kind of lily because I don't know what it is about them. I think it was because my grandmother used to try to love to grow them, and it was one of the only flowers she never really could get to grow. And when my grandma couldn't figure things out, she was kind of cranky. So I think that's why it became one of my least favorite flowers. Because anytime we were over at her house, all she would complain about is, "I can get everything else in this garden to grow, but I can't get these lilies to grow, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and my neighbors don't know what they do." It's just a flower. Stop it. I know it's a guy thing to say, and that's why it stayed in my head. But that's what
okay. So my next least favorite is the coneflower, and a lot of people confuse this with a daisy because it has like a brown button center and then petals, white, pink, purple, sometimes yellow, and they droop. The petals just droop, and it looks like such a sad flower. And I just don't like it. I I have tried to like this flower because it makes for good. They attract butterflies, they attract bees, they attract a lot of the hummingbirds and everything. And I really want to put them somewhere so that the birds and the bees can enjoy it. No pun intended. But I just can't get over the fact that they just look so sad. And every time I look at them, I'm like, this is the saddest flower I've ever seen. And it makes me depressed looking at this flower. So that's my number 5. And I know some people really like it. My sister among them, she actually has the front flower bed. She just put in several for the express purpose of the hummingbirds and pollinators. And I saw a picture of it. It's like, oh, it looks nice. Straight away, she answers with, "I know you don't like them. It's not your house." She's always, "No, I don't like them," but whatever.
Nice. And yes, I know why you specifically asked what kind of lilies. You were waiting for me to say calla lilies. I know what you were asking. No, I'm not giving you that satisfaction.
No, but there are some, like the lilies of the valley. It's a different type of lily too. So when you say general lilies, I'm like, seeming like the spider lily, daylily, tiger lily, stargaze lily, the ones that have the 6 petal thing going, or does he mean all the lilies? So you said all the lilies, so I said okay.
Pretty much all of them. Well, except for despite what I think it was Steven that said in the chat that it was obviously tiger lilies because I hate Peter Pan. Bitch, I am Peter Pan. Shut up. All right, so my number 4 least favorite is gonna surprise some folks, but at the number 4 on my list is sunflowers. I don't like them. I don't like them a lot for several reasons. One, their seeds piss me off. So my first wife was not a very neat person, and she absolutely loved to eat sunflower seeds. And despite how often I tried to get her to do so, I could never get her to buy the ones that were already shelled in the bag. So I would come home after working 12-hour days to a house that was often littered with sunflower seed shells. So that was trigger number 1. Then my second wife absolutely loved sunflowers, and now I just can't stand them at all. I don't even want to see them. I don't care. Everybody's like, but it looks like the sun, and it's so beautiful. Shut up. Just shut up. No. Sunflowers. Boo. Bad. No. No.
Well, I'm going to make your day. I'm going to make your day because that's my number 3.
Nice.
And I like sunflower seeds, and I will, crack them and everything and all that stuff. But I do prefer them already shelled, right? So I don't have to deal with that, especially when I use them in cooking, like if I'm making like the breads or muffins or something. Perfect for that. Whenever I crack the shells and everything, for me, it's more of a soothing mechanism. So I'll do that. But I always take care of, I gatekeep my shells, but I've never liked them. I've always thought that they were like so weird looking. The center is huge. The petals are tiny and frilled. And I like the concept that, it turns to face the sun and everything. But, it just reminds me of that weird baby in Teletubbies. It just, every time I see a sunflower, I freak out with that. That's the connection that I make. And no, my kids didn't watch Teletubbies, but when I would babysit my niece, who was around the same age, she loved Teletubbies. Same age as my oldest.
Luckily, none of my kids or my nieces or nephews ever really got into Teletubbies. Barney was bad enough. Jesus Christ.
I didn't understand the Teletubbies. I think it was a question of all of the color that was in that show that she enjoyed because she never learned how to speak from it. She didn't learn anything from it that I can recall.
I mean, they barely talk. It's hard for anything.
Right. But then you saw that face, like the sun. And I'm like, that's not right. I was like, don't you want to watch something else? She's like, no, Teletubbies. I'm like, oh God, okay, fine. And I would put it on while I was doing my cross stitch or whatever. My kids didn't like it. So they'd be playing with something else, doing some kind of exercise or coloring or whatever, but she'd be watching Teletubbies. And I'm like, well, if my sister allows her to do that, that's fine. But I always thought that face, every time I look at a sunflower, it looks like that. And the sad part is it's my daughter's favorite flower.
Nice.
So, yeah, but whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So what's your number 3?
So my number 3 least favorite, a lot of people think is a weed. It grows like one, but it's really kind of not. It's dandelions. I will admit they have some health benefits, but I'm just not a fan, because once they start popping up, they're hard as fuck to get rid of.
Oh yes. Yeah, I get that. I mean, and they're very pretty. They're really good in salads. Dandelion salad is one of my favorites, and you can make libations from dandelions. Apparently, they have certain properties and stuff. But yeah, I can totally see it. And yeah, if you don't catch them early, you're screwed.
Pretty much. Screwed, blued, and tattooed.
Okay, so one of my least favorite flowers, and it's really weird. Most people really like these. It's an entire genus. They're called passion flowers, and you would recognize them because when they open up, they're full of these frills, very trindles all over the place. And y'all know that I embroider, that I do cross stitching. I see this flower and all I want to do is stitch it shut. It drives me crazy to see all of those. It's like having, a hanging thread on your clothing. And I see all of that. All I want to do is either stitch it or clip it. And I hate it. I cannot stand to see these things. And bless my mother, I love her to death. She saw one. I had taken her to Home Depot or something, and Home Depot had some. And she fell in love with these things. My mom can make a stick grow into a tree. I'm not even exaggerating here. I had a rubber plant that somebody gifted me in college during the bonfire buddy thing, and it died. So I took it home thinking Mom would like the pot, right? Mom decides to plant this stick in the ground. I leave for spring semester. I come back for spring break, and that thing is 6 feet tall. And I'm like, when did you get this? She's like, that's the stick you brought me. I'm like, you're kidding. It's a massive rubber plant. I was like, I can't believe it. A branch fell from the swamp mallow tree that she had in the backyard. So she decided to grow it in the opposite corner, and it's like 35 feet tall now. And I'm like, I remember when you planted that 2.5 years ago. It's a tree now. She's like, yeah, everything. The woman, everything she touches grows. She has the most awesome green thumb I've ever known. So she gets into her head that she wants these flowers. And I'm thinking to myself, they're going to take off. I just know they're going to take off. So I told her, Mom, why don't you put them on this side of the house, the side of the house that I never see? She's like, no, I need to put them here. I want them here. She put them all along the front walk. And now every time I walk through there, I just want to take a needle to these damn things. She has actually propagated things so well. She had 3, now it's 12, and she's given 5 away. Because now the neighbors all have one growing. Just like, I hate this flower. Why couldn't you get something pretty? I mean, they're pretty flowers, don't get me wrong. It's just that all of those little strings just drive me crazy. I need to sew it. I need to either clip it or sew it. Something's got to be happening here, and it drives me crazy. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Nice. All right. So my number 2, let's see. Sorry, I was looking at something else and forgot my list. Marigolds, which is weird because you would think, because I normally pick like the weirdest flowers as my favorites, but marigolds confuse me because they look really pretty and they stink. So I'm like, not a fan.
I can understand that. They don't have I don't know, their scent is kind of weird. I have a bunch at the back, but that's for the mosquito, as a repellent.
We did used to have them in the back of the house because that way, because the smell works to keep a lot of pests away. So we would have them in the back of the house when the wife was doing flower beds when I had one. But that was one of the things. For some reason, that musky smell makes me sneeze worse than cedar trees. And I'm really allergic to cedar trees. So that's another reason why I don't like marigolds very much. But then again, when you live in the country, sneezing's better than getting eaten alive by mosquitoes the size of 757. So there's that.
This is true. This is why I keep, I actually pot them. I don't put them in the flower beds. I pot them and put them around the deck, and it's color, whatever, but they're small. So, and apparently my dog doesn't like them very much. She came up and sniffed them. She backed away going, that does not smell right.
I did not know right, Mom. I did not know right. Oh no.
She was like, she kind of like freaked out. She likes the other flowers that I have out there, but not those. And I'm like, learn to deal with it. It's because of mosquitoes. All right, so I guess I'm at number 1 for my least favorite, right?
Yep.
Okay, so my number 1 least favorite, some people will be kind of shocked about this because it's a beautiful flower. It's the dahlia. I cannot get past the block that I have for the dahlia. The dahlia it's a beautiful flower. I admit it's a beautiful flower, and a lot of people like it. You see it in a lot of beautiful, beautiful spring and fall floral arrangements, and it's so full and lush, and the petals are just amazing to me. But I can't get past the fact, when I was little, my grandmother taught me the language of flowers, and there are several. This happened to be the language of flowers that she learned in Spain. And so one flower that she would not allow and in her home was the dahlia. And she explained the dahlia is the death flower. And I was like, what do you mean it's a death flower? And she said, where dahlias grow, it used to be a myth, legend, whatever you want to call it, where a dahlia would grow, somebody was about to die. And so it was associated as a death flower. And when people would pass away, they would be buried with, a coronal wreath of dahlias. And so ever since she told me that, I've had this mental block about dahlias. And the thing is, I'll see them at the nursery, I'll see them at Lowe's, or Home Depot, or whatever, and they're beautiful. And I reach for them, and I stop, and I go back. And my husband's like, they're beautiful. Why don't you like them? And I tell him the story, and he's like, you need to get over that.
That's weird because I'd never heard of that. I'd never even heard of that flower before. So I'm looking stuff up, and everything that I'm seeing about it, I mean, like I'm looking at something from flowerglossary.com, and it says the dahlia was a symbolic flower for eternal love and was a flower gifted to show appreciation to another.
Yes, yes. That's part of it, but there's a myth, a legend, or something that's associated that my grandmother learned about when she was little and learning about the language of flowers when she, in Spain. And so for her, dahlias were verboten. It was death, and it was associated with death, even though it was a love flower. And it didn't mean that you wanted that person to die. what it meant was that person was going to pass away, and you gave them the dahlia because that was the love flower upon death, that kind of thing. But she just refused to have that flower, and so that got transferred to me.
So, the thing that's tripping me out about that, right, though, is apparently there are different meanings for each different color type of the dahlia flower. So, as a matter of fact, I just found an entry from the language of flowers, and the inherent meaning and symbolism of a particular plant can also vary based on the color of the flowers produced. Red dahlia flowers are a known symbol of both strength and power. Because of that, you can give them to a sick or recovering friend or a get well soon gift. So I'm just thinking, if you accidentally walked into somebody's hospital room with the wrong color dahlia, they're going to be like, "You trying to kill me or save me? What are you doing?" Well, you see, what had happened was,
Yeah, and like I said, this was what my grandmother told me. It could have been erroneous. She may have heard it wrong or whatever, but she was very insistent, and she just drove that into my skull, and it took root, pun intended. So, yeah.
No, you see, what had happened was your grandmother was hearing a story from somebody who took somebody a red dahlia flower and they died, and then they're like, "No, this flower doesn't mean what we think it means. It means it's death." Just kidding. I'm just spitballing at this point. I have no idea, but yeah, it's weird because that's one of those flowers that has like a million different kind of color combinations, and I guess each one means something different. So that was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's the same with carnations, I guess. So
interesting that you would mention that, since that's my number one least favorite flower.
Really?
Carnations remind me of the awkwardness of prom, for one. For two, the flower's always kind of weird because the only reason they have a lot of these cool, brightly colored ones now is because of hybridization. The original, like before humans started being humans, they were kind of fleshy colored, so, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it was light blush pink color. The original. That's
and people said that color's not good enough. Speaking of which, not that this has anything to do with flowers, but I read something today that freaked me out. I don't know how I've never heard it before. You know how everybody says when life gives you lemons, make lemonade?
Mm-hmm.
Lemons didn't exist, so life can't give them to you. Man made those sons of bitches. They're a hybrid.
Yes.
Life can't give me lemonades. My life can't give me lemons. You made these damn things. Life didn't. What the hell?
Life can't give you lemons, so screw that.
I always said if life gives you lemonade, throw the bitches back. Hell would make it. If life gives you lemons, just throw them back. Hell would try to make lemonade out of them. But yeah, no. I read that the other day. I was like, that is just kind of a weird thing to think about because everybody's like, "Oh, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade." Men made those, which explains why they're probably bad luck. Anyway,
good to know.
But yeah, so that was just something else. And there was something else I read that was weird today. I'm still looking into the article, but apparently there's a scientist that is postulating that stars might be aware, like actual stars, not Hollywood stars.
Stars are sentient.
Apparently, potentially, which reinforces my and Amish's theory that we're living in a simulation. Because if the fucking stars are sentient, there's no way this is real life anymore. I'm just saying.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, oh man, now my brain is not going to stop. I'm going to lay in bed tonight, and I'm going to be wide awake, and I'm going to be like, are the stars peeking in my window? Kind of shit. But that's kind of interesting because, we have, Christians, I'm not familiar with whether or not other religions do this, but Christians, believe that sometimes angels live like the stars above are, angels watching over us, that kind of thing. Well, maybe it's true.
Well, what kind of when I first read the headline, and like I said, I haven't dug into the article very much yet, but when I first read the headline, first thing I thought of was one of the series that Gene Roddenberry came up with later in life. It was Andromeda, the one with Kevin Sorbo in it.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and right when so that one was kind of just the usual sci-fi stuff until halfway through season 4 into I think it was season 5. I think that season 5 may have been the last one. But then it got really weird. Like suddenly, because the ship, which was artificial intelligence, also had an avatar, which is basically an android. Well, it turns out that every star had an avatar too, and one of the people that's been on the ship the entire time was an avatar to a star.
What?
So when I read that, I was like, okay, that might be pulling from that collective consciousness thing again that we talk about all the time, because it's weird that would come out and then somebody's trying to put out an article postulating this. But anyway,
I'm waking up.
you're welcome. Aggie's gonna have to turn on her favorite serial killer to sleep tonight. Otherwise, she's gonna.
There was a TV show. It was actually I want to say it was a 3-part series on sci-fi, and I forgot what it was called. I want to say it was Ascension. Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Do you
6
remember
parts.
that? Was it 6? I thought it was 3, but
no, it was 6. And I don't necessarily. I think they built it as a miniseries after they realized it wasn't gonna be done anymore, because it quit on a cliffhanger, and I was pissed. It's like a miniseries has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Not a beginning, a middle, and more of the middle, but we don't think we're doing it anymore. So fuck you. Because I was like, yeah, okay. But no, I actually just recently rewatched it the other day. It was an interesting story, and
it was really cool. And I know that this is all nothing to do with flowers or anything, but the concept of having, placed people on the ship, and then you turn the ship to, mimic the stars and all that stuff, to make them still believe that they're, still in space or whatever. And it was still home. It was still here the whole time. And it was a really cool concept. And I'm starting to think, if the stars are sentient, then, this TV show would kind of explain what the hell's going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it from this perspective. If the stars are sentient, then maybe we're the laboratory.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Pretty much, and it was actually pretty well done. I was hoping that it would get picked up and it would become a series, because they kind of left it on a cliffhanger. But
I hadn't watched it in forever, and so one of the times when I was down sick within the last few months, I went in and turned it on. And I was thinking, oh, I've watched this before. I'm sure I'll be able to fall asleep. Dude, I sat there through the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was like, it was. Now I'm gonna be waking out. I'm gonna be like, what if the stars are watching us? What if it's not stars? What if we are in a simulation? What if this is the Matrix, only not as bad? But if it were the Matrix, we would not be able to get AI to work, because the AI would already be existing, and they'd be like glitching it so that it wouldn't work, so that we wouldn't go down that path again.
Not necessarily, because if the AI is controlling everything, then the AI can sculpt the simulation version of AI to make sure that it only reaches a certain point anyway. So,
God, I don't want to think about this.
Otherwise, they would start tipping us off. But and since we've already gone down this rabbit hole, we might as well just finish it off. I found a video I'm going to be watching later that ties into one of the topics that Amish and I talked about on last week's Juxtaposition, the whole 1999 thing. Because apparently now there's a video where somebody's put it together. It's like 20-something minutes long, and I'm going to be watching it probably tonight. And it's talking about how we're stuck in time because everything actually ended in 1999. And we just don't know it yet.
So Prince was right?
Apparently.
Damn it. No wonder he cut out early. He was done.
Yeah, nope, I'm done. He went on a high note. He passed away not shortly after he did the whole Super Bowl thing. So,
Yeah, it's just he was such a great talent.
dude, I don't even know if there's anybody like him anymore. Like I didn't even realize until later when I started studying about him that when he first started doing like the studio recordings, that was him on almost every fucking instrument.
Every single instrument. He played, I want to say 27 instruments or some ridiculous amount of instruments. He did all of his instruments. He did all of his producing. He did everything. And you have people who want to be singers, going on American Idol or America's Got Talent or whatever, hoping to, I guess what is it? The Voice is another one. I don't know, but the TV, I don't watch them, so I'm not sure, but they're hoping to make it big into the recording industry. And I'm like, y'all don't get it. You gotta pay your dues. Maybe this is like really easy, but even like take Kelly Clarkson, for example. She won the first,
Yeah, she was the first one ever, and
she was the first one. But after that, she had to work really, really, really hard. And she, there was an interview. She said, I knew that I had to work. I did not know that I had to work 30 hours a day. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. But she loves, but singing was her thing. And she was willing to put in the equity,
Well, that's just it. Nobody does, because from the outside, I mean, unless it's something like, you're watching, cops or firefighters or whatever do their thing, most everybody has no idea how hard somebody else's job actually is. I mean, I've done everything from scrubbing toilets to flipping burgers to running companies. Ain't nothing about anything easy, really. I mean, and that's one of the things that I've always tried to make everybody understand. One of the things that drives me crazy, especially from people that I know that have worked their way up the ladder, is eventually they start treating people like dirt. And I'm like, dude, if you are, even if it's internally, if you're above people, then technically those people not only are supposed to be your employees, but in reality, they're pretty much your customers too, because the happier you keep them, the longer they're going to be willing to stay with you. And if everybody doesn't remember that pretty much every aspect, no matter what your job is, customer service is always going to be a part of it. Now, I would also like to throw out a caveat that the customer's always right is bullshit. And whoever came up with that idea should be drugged behind a car until they can't walk anymore, because that's just wrong. But at the same time, you do have to find a balancing act. That's one of the things that drove me the most crazy. And I know I've talked about this story before, but like the second person in charge of our entire organization would come in once every couple of months and, go in and talk to the managers. Well, at one point, he came up and he started talking to me. And ever since then, anytime he was in the building, he would come find me and be like, you got a minute to talk? I'm like, as soon as I get off this call, as long as you tell my boss. And everybody around me was like, oh my God, he comes to talk to you? Aren't you nervous? No, fucker. No, I'm not nervous. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else does. But I have also discovered there's an exception to that rule, because that's what everybody says. No matter how rich you are, no matter how well off you are, no matter how poor you are, at the end of the day, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. My ex-wife jumped into her pants. I'm not even kidding. I saw her do that. I was like, "What's up? What?" she's I was like, how did you even just do that? I was like, you just broke one of like the cardinal rules of life, is that everybody's the same, because at the end of the day, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. She's like, you know me, I'm always different. Fuck you.
She jumped into her pants.
I was like, how did you do that? But yeah, all the time she would get things set up just right on the bed and get her feet in there and then just jump off the bed and pull them up at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that without falling on your ass, but that was impressive. All right, anyway.
Cracking up. Okay. Well, I guess we should segue into the favorite.
The favorite, which for me is going to be backwards for probably most everybody else, but that's okay. I'm weird like that.
All right. So at the bottom of my list is, and there's no reason why she's at the bottom, it's just whatever.
What?
The bluebonnet, which is my state flower, but I love her. She is so pretty.
You don't love her very much. She's at the bottom of your list.
Well, but there's a reason. It's just that
Wait. No. You said there was no reason she was at the bottom of your list. So which one is it, ma'am? Which one is it?
I had to make conscious decisions of, where I was going to put everything. She made the cut, okay? She made the cut.
You know you're making the bluebonnet sad, right? I'm supposed to be one of your favorite flowers, and I'm at the bottom. I'm just teasing you.
Well, the sad part is living up here, I seldom get to see bluebonnets because they live in more warmer areas than up in North Texas, but especially in the Northeast where I live. So it would, for me, I'd have to actually get containers and try to grow them there. But the bluebonnet has always been, for me, when you would drive all of these long distances on the Texas highways and would see the carpets of the variants of blue in there. And it was just stunning. And then you had, there are other wildflowers too, but for me, that one just stood out so beautifully. And there's the Legend of the Bluebonnet. That's really cute. They sell that book at the Alamo. Shocking, no one. But
I was just trying to figure out why in the world you chose butter as one of your top 5 flowers. But
but one of the things that Texas A&M is famous for is that we will fuck up every gene sequence known to man, and especially in agriculture. And we came up with a variant of the bluebonnet that was maroon, and it's called the Alamo Fire. It is beautiful, and it's a gorgeous color. And yes, it's maroon and white. Yay, gig 'em. But it is also protected because technically it is a bluebonnet. So
I think you mean crimson and cream, man.
No, there's two. Alamo Fire was the first one. Crimson and cream came later. It's a darker. It's a more orangey color. But Alamo Fire's.
I was taking
what?
I was taking a jab at your Aggie comment.
Oh no! Don't you dare! I don't know. I don't care. Alamo Fire.
Crimson and cream.
Whatever.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
No. The first one was Alamo Fire. Actually, they have several variants. So when you said crimson and cream, yeah, that's a possibility because they have several variants. It wasn't just to make our school colors. It was to make the bluebonnet in several other school colors so that the schools could also plant them, and let them germinate and everything, because they are protected in the state of Texas. Bluebonnets are protected. You cannot mow them down until they go to seed. So there was an incident.
Dun dun dun.
The field, there's a field that's in front of what I call the Devil's Tower over in UT Austin, which is the clock tower. And it's beautiful lawn and everything, and bluebonnets grow there. And of course, by law, you do not mow them down. You wait for them to go to seed. Well, intrepid Aggies actually planted seeds of Alamo Fire in there, and they grew. But not only did they grow, they grew first. So one day you see them, start growing, and the next day you see them flowering, and you're like, wait, they're not blue. And so UT was kind of upset about this whole situation. And UT was reminded, yeah, okay, this is true. But you cannot cut them down because they are a protected flower. They're a state flower, and you must let them go to seed. They did not. Within a day, they were mowing them down. So then you had two factions. You had the people who absolutely loathed Texas A&M, and the environmental peace-loving, tree-hugging section, which, by the way, that Venn circle is almost a solid circle. And they were fighting among themselves because of what happened with these flowers.
Nice.
Because they knew you should not have mowed them because they are the state flower. You're not supposed to mow them until they go to seed. But if they go to seed, guess what? You're going to get more red ones. So UT was placed in a situation where they had to mow. And then somebody said, no, actually, you didn't have to mow. You could have pulled them up. And UT was like, oh, shit, yeah, we could have done that. But too late. Oh, well, we mowed them. So they mowed them and then they replaced them with the regular bluebonnets. But because of that incident, it took UT a long time to actually recover their reputation as being very, caring about the environment, caring about the bluebonnet and all this stuff and whatever, because of the fact that they'd rather mow them down than let them go to seed. Now, this is, our schools have gone back and forth and they have had several, run-in incidents, especially with the colors. The one that UT got us really good with, there's a brick building in College Station, and the brick was supposed to be maroon, but the guy that was in charge of it was actually a UT alum. And so he formulated the brick to be maroon, but as it keeps, getting the sun shining on it, the brick will turn burnt orange over the time. And it did. So there's this burnt orange building in College Station. So when Whataburger came to College Station, the deal was that Whataburger had to have at least one maroon stripe on their buildings in order to be in College Station. So all of the Whataburgers that are in College Station have a maroon stripe on their roof. Because I don't know if anybody else is familiar with Whataburger, but it's orange and white, orange, white, orange, white.
Oh, yeah.
One stripe has to be maroon. So that's the deal.
Of course it does.
Anyway, ramble long enough about the bluebonnet. How about you? What's your number 5?
My number 5 favorite flower is actually kind of a normal one, where the weird ones don't come up till later. I do actually like orchids, so that's my number 5.
They are so pretty.
They've actually become really popular in the last few years again. I thought it was interesting that apparently they're really popular in California.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know this either. Apparently there's like 1,500 separate species of orchid. That's a lot of flower species.
Well, when I was in Puerto Rico, we had about quarter acre. I don't remember, maybe I don't know how much, but our whole backyard, we had a lot of trees that were fruit trees. We had a couple of avocado, 5 guava trees. We had lemon, lime, grapefruit, chironja. We had what do you call it? Guanabana, breadfruit. We had papaya. We had a bunch. And
I don't know what you just said, but now I have the Muppet song in my head.
Guanabana. The orchids grew naturally there. Mom never had to plant an orchid. They just grew in the trees because they're a parasitic flower. And whenever Mom and my dad had a formal occasion, or if they had to take flowers to anybody or whatever, my mom would just go pick orchids. I did not know orchids were a highfalutin flower until I came to the States, and my sister is going to a dance, and her boyfriend brings her an orchid, and it's all in this pretty package, the clear plastic with the pretty glittery foofy stuff on the bottom and everything. And I was like, wow, that's really pretty. You packaged that real well. And he said, no, I got this from a flower shop. And I'm like, they don't grow here? I didn't know. I had no clue. I didn't know. But yeah, my mom had, if she needed vanilla, she just went to the backyard. And yet now you can't buy vanilla, a little thing of 2 vanilla beans for like $25. Like, holy shit.
Crazy, right?
I
Hey,
know.
Amish, you're welcome, bro. Love you, man. You're welcome. What can I say? Except you're welcome.
Mana, mana. Dee, 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 dee.
Dude, I was going through some stuff the other day, and I actually forgot about this until I saw the video. One of the first times I saw it. There's the clip of Sandra Bullock on there when they're talking about that song, and she starts going kind of nuts with it. It was kind of hot.
She is such a treasure. Not gonna lie. She's so funny. She's great. She's extensively easy on the eyes and extensively funny and very talented, multilingual.
Dude, we've worked together long enough. You should have known it wasn't just going to be just you.
I didn't even think about that.
But no, I thought he was being a smartass. He's like, no, I mean it really. I was afraid it was just going to be me. I'm like, you should have known better than that by now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you really should. You should know better. You guys are like on the same wavelength, so yeah. Alrighty, so my fourth one, you're not gonna like, because it's already on your shit list.
Well, damn it, lay it on me, sister.
The carnation, but
fucking prom flowers.
I know, but there's 2 stories that I have with the carnation, which is why
Does it involve death again?
Does it what?
Does the story involve death again?
No.
Okay.
It's actually a good story. When I was in, I think it was 8th grade, at Valentine's Day, they would sell the flowers, and there were always carnations. It was like $1. And so that way you could send flowers to all your friends, or you can, whatever. I bought one for my mom. And, they came and, they said, Liesl, and well, there you go. Now you know my name, Aggie. And I said, yeah, that's me. And so I went and picked it up, and not thinking anything, I just put it on the desk, and so the class resumes and everything. And of course, because of all the deliveries that day during that time period, we weren't going to be doing much in class or anything. And so another one comes and they say my name again. And I was like, but you already delivered my flower. And they said, well, this one has your name on it. So I said, well, okay. And people were like, ooh. And I'm like, no, please. I probably bought 2 for my mother, and I completely forgot. So I got it, and I put it on my desk, and everything. And I didn't think anything of it. So I go home and I bring them to mom, and my sister had done the same thing. So mom gets, 3 flowers and everything. And mom sees the cards. And then my mom says, this one's not for me. And my sister came home with 8. 1 was for mom. The other 7 she got from guys. She's very popular. So I said, well, who's it to? And she gives it to me and says, it's from a secret admirer. It's for me. It's for you. And I was like, nuh-uh, that doesn't happen. My sister from upstairs, no way, that doesn't happen. She comes running down the stairs to see the tag, to make sure that it was for me from someone, right?
Yeah.
And I kept that tag, and I still have that tag in my memory book, the scrapbook that I keep. And I had forgotten all about that. One of my good friends died election night in 2016. He and I graduated from high school together. As a matter of fact, I dated his older brother, and we're still very good friends to this day. It wasn't until after his passing that his brother is going through his papers and all that stuff, helping his wife organize all that stuff. And he sees stuff from 8th grade. And he thought that that was, they would get a good kick out of it, even though his wife was not in the same school with us. She didn't actually go to school with us until 9th grade. Yes, also a good friend of mine. And in it, he finds his journal and they start reading it. And it comes to find out he was the one that sent me the flower. And it was a red carnation. And I still have the tag to this day. And I sent his brother a picture of the tag. And we called, we had a phone call and we were talking for 2 hours. And I said, why didn't he ever say anything? And he was like, I have no idea, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't start dating until after I left high school because I felt really bad. It's like, yeah, me too. But he was, I was so touched to find out that someone I considered a very close friend had done that and kept quiet all of these years. I never knew until after his passing. And I wish I had known beforehand because I would have loved to have told him what he did for my self-esteem. That was the only time I got anything from a secret admirer, which is the reason I kept the tag to this day. So, it would have been nice that I could have told him, what it had meant to me, even if it had not led to anything, because we were still good friends and we had remained friends until his passing. So, that's one of the reasons I like the carnation. Another reason I like the carnation is that it's the mother's flower. It is said that when Mary cried when Jesus died, her tears fell upon the earth and the carnation sprung from them. And this is the flower that's associated with Holy Mary, and it is also associated with Mother's Day. Because of that, it is the mother's flower. So that's why I gravitate towards the carnation as being one of my favorites. I'm sorry, Rick. I hate to disappoint you.
You didn't disappoint me.
But yeah, those are the two main reasons why I like carnations. And they last forever. I mean, you buy carnations at the store, you can put that in a vase for like 3 weeks and they're still around. So that's why I like them too. They last for a long time.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. So my number 4, which apparently didn't even make either one of your lists, because as gruff as I'm trying to sound, and not just to play up the idea that you have me talking about freaking flowers.
I'm sorry.
I'm mostly teasing. Number 3 for me would be roses, because I actually am slightly romantic when I have the ability to be. So my favorite ones are actually white roses.
White roses?
Yep.
Oh, lovely. I actually bought one for the front, one of the front flower beds. And I'm like really hoping it takes.
It's one of those, it's kind of like the grandma story that you told earlier about that one flower. But for me, and I don't remember, it's not native to here, but there's a certain country, and I don't remember which one it was, that believe white roses symbolize new beginnings. So that once I read about that one time, and it always it quickly became one of my favorite flowers. It's easy to talk about red roses, and I'm really not a huge fan of red roses because I kind of view those in the same vein as Hallmark movies and Hallmark holidays because, Valentine's Day completely just jacked up the price of roses once a year. But yeah, I do like white roses. Yellow roses are probably my second favorite roses.
I like them mojave, orangey, yellow.
Yeah.
Those are so pretty. I was at one of the nurseries and they had the JFK flower. And I was looking at it going, those blooms are huge, but they're not as big as the peace rose. And I'm looking at it going, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? Then I saw the price. Yeah, I shouldn't. Walked away.
Yeah.
They tend to be pricey.
Yeah, the friend I've been talking to likes fire and ice roses, and I tried to get some for Valentine's Day, and I'm like, I'm not paying that much for roses. No.
No, they're a little pricey. They're a
And
little
then I
pricey.
looked at them after Valentine's Day. I was like, yeah, that didn't help much. You're kind of expensive.
Stephen actually says, dip the rose petals in a little powdered sugar and eat. I actually do. I will take rose petals and coat them with egg white and then sprinkle granulated sugar. And we'll put that on cakes. And it is edible. And yes, I get it. It's egg white and people are like, oh, salmonella. But no, you're fine. You're fine.
It's good enough for Rocky, damn it.
Yeah, and if you have issues, you can get egg white substitute and do the same thing. It does pretty much, aquafaba will do the same thing. You just can't use water because it will not, water will just dissipate. It will not adhere anything. So, but yeah, I've decorated cakes with and cupcakes with flower petals that are covered in granulated sugar because it makes them all very, it looks shiny, crystallized, so, but yeah, I do that. Okay, so my number 3 is the Shasta daisy. I don't know where this happened, but I love daisies. White with the little yellow center. The Shasta daisy is my favorite. And it is such a happy flower for me. I see those and I immediately smile. It doesn't matter what, it could be a hairpin, it could be a necklace, it could be a t-shirt. I will see a representation of Shasta daisy and I will start smiling immediately. I don't know what it is about that flower, but it incentivizes me to feel happy. It's not the prettiest flower out there, but I really, it makes me feel good. So that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. I mean, it is a pretty flower, don't get me wrong. And I may or may not own certain items of clothing with it on it. Perhaps 2 or 3 pairs of earrings, a few necklaces.
Nice.
And shoes that have little daisies on them. Yes, I do. I do own shoes that have daisies on them. But it just, of all of the flowers, and it's not even my number 1, but of all of the flowers, that is the one that literally brings a smile to my face. I will start smiling the moment I see a daisy. It's just, I don't know what it is about it, but it does. It just makes me smile. So
Meanwhile, I'm over here smiling, having a fat kid moment because every time you say the word daisy, I'm thinking, do a little dollop of daisy.
I do not buy generic. I buy daisy sour cream because of the damn flower.
Oh.
I know there's organic and right next to it. Nope, I will grab daisy because that flower is on that container, and by God, I'm going to be smiling.
Nice. All right, so what are we at? Number 3, I think is where we are.
Yes.
Yeah, you're number 3. All right, so my number 3, and this is where things are going to get kind of weird, and Aggie's probably going to go ooh, and I'm sure Danny will probably go ooh, and even some of the guys are going to be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? We don't know. Nobody knows. Just deal with it. My third favorite is Rafflesia.
The corpse flower.
No. It's not the corpse flower. That's
the Rafflesia?
That's my number 2. The corpse flower is actually something completely. The corpse flower is different than the Rafflesia. So this one is actually The reason you're confusing them, though, is this one is another one that has one of those peculiar kind of odors. It's a parasitic flower. It smells like decay, just like the corpse flower, but it has kind of fleshy looking spotted blooms. So the reason this one stuck out to me is the first time my kid brother ever saw one, he called it a zombie flower.
A zombie flower. That's pretty fucking apt.
So that one kind of stuck in my head. I was like, hey, that's kind of cool.
That's pretty apt, though.
Yeah, so apparently, even though it's stinky and it's a little weird, it's still one that a lot of folks keep in their backyards.
Really?
I found was interesting. It's actually considered in some regions of the country a backyard staple. But even though it does get planted a lot, it's still fairly and firmly unloved. The Poriflesia. I think that's probably why I like them, because these are flowers that nobody else likes. And I'm just like, I even feel bad for flowers, damn it. My favorite flowers are ones that everybody else is like, I don't even know if that should count as a flower.
Well, you know, a lot of people are like, the poinsettia is my favorite flower. And I'm like, you realize that red part? Those are the leaves. The flower is the little yellow things in the middle. And people freak out when I tell them this. No, they say, no, that's the flower, the red petals. I said, no, those are leaves.
No, those are the leaves.
The flower are the little yellow things in the middle.
My favorite part is, the whole thing with like mistletoe around Christmas time, and you tell them, you're actually standing below a poisonous plant and kissing one another. They're like, it's poisonous? Like, you didn't know
yeah,
that?
very poisonous. As a matter of fact, the mistletoe was used, they would make a tincture out of it hundreds of years ago. They would make tinctures out of it. They would also make you would drink it to expel a baby, so abortifacient. I was trying to think of the word. And if given in large enough doses, if it has been distilled to its essence enough, you can kill a person with a very small dose. And women used to do this. They would put it in their husband's beer because it would cover up the taste. Beer was rather bitter. So yeah, lots of hijinks were done with mistletoe.
Well played.
I'm not saying anybody should do this.
Well played, Stephen. He's like, why else would it represent love if it were not poison? Well played, Stephen. Well played.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, point taken too. Let's see, I guess we're, number 2?
Right, number 2.
So my number 2 is geraniums. I love them. My grandmother had, it's really weird to describe my grandmother's house. In Puerto Rico, you don't have lawns unless you're very, very wealthy. Most of the time, you just have a little patch of land in front of your house and on the side of your house and maybe in the back. And the little patch in the front of her house, all she had were geraniums there. And they were all red. And in that climate, geraniums bloom year round. I mean, they stick around. And she had them like that. And then on the side of the house, the flower beds were elevated. And she had several things, but in between, there was a red geranium. So you had this beautiful red running down on the side of the house. Then upstairs in the balcony, she had potted geraniums on, like you would on a, what do you call it? Window box, but they were over the railing, and they would surround the entirety of the balcony. So you had this beautiful red and green on the top as well. It was her favorite flower, and I never forgot that. And so for me, every year I get red geraniums in her honor. So every flower that I have in my back on the back deck actually is in honor of somebody in my family. And the geraniums represent my grandmother.
Oh,
Yeah. My mom, she's tough because she, like I said, she makes everything grow. And so it was really, really rough until I found out that her favorite flowers were the stargazer lilies. And so I put those back here too. And they look really nice. She doesn't know about that though. I haven't sent her pictures because I've been changing so many things around and it's just a mess. And the hydrangeas. She loves those too. So, and I have hydrangeas as well. And my mother-in-law likes azaleas. Guess what I got back there too? Azaleas. So I have hydrangea, azalea, hydrangea, azalea, hydrangea, azalea. And it looks really nice, up along the flower bed that borders the back deck. So, but yeah, the geranium, I have such wonderful memories of going to her house and seeing all that red. And the thing is, the official flower of Puerto Rico is Flor de Maga. I am not even joking when I say this. Maga, M-A-G-A. That is the official flower of Puerto Rico. So you can imagine.
kind of funny.
You can imagine how some people were pissed off about the whole MAGA thing. It looks like a hibiscus, but it grows on a tree, not a shrub, like a hibiscus. It's actually a tree. And it's a deep, beautiful red. Has the same type of pistil and everything. The flower petals are shaped a little differently, but that's what a lot of people say. Oh, the hibiscus. No. Hibiscus is totally different. That's Hawaii shit. No, the Puerto Rico is the Flor de Maga, but I can't get one to grow here. So, I just make do with painting it on a rock and putting it out in the back deck.
It won't grow here, so you get a rock.
You get a rock. All right. And what's your number 2?
My number 2 puts me really close to Wednesday Addams and myself having something in common. My number 2 is in fact the actual corpse flower, which is very rare but infamous because it smells like rotting flesh. And only technically flowers for a very brief period of time, which is again another one where everybody's like, well, doesn't that really mean it's not? As soon as it can pop a flower, it doesn't matter how long the flower lasts, it still makes it a flower. Shut it.
This is true. And I imagine the scent attracts the insects for the pollination purposes. So
I mean, that's exactly what happens. So, but I remember in Wednesday, the first season of Wednesday, there was a point when I think it was that one. It was either that or one of the movies. But Wednesday was like having a cow because there was a corpse flower. She's like, oh, my favorite. Like, we almost have something in common because I have weird tasting flowers. Yeah, needless to say, when I had a wife who would do flower beds, I was not allowed to pick things mostly, which is why I had to start coming up with at least a couple of normal flowers to put on my list.
They can't grow up here, can they?
I know they can't.
That they have to be okay. Fine, that's too bad.
I mean, I have a black thumb anyway, so even if they could grow here, they wouldn't grow for me. So. Besides, Gracie would be like, Papa, that's gross. I know, that's the point, kid. You're weird. But so that's my number 2. And if memory serves, I'm pretty sure it was discovered in the Amazon.
I believe so, yes.
So,
which is too bad, because if it would grow here, boy, that would repel people. You know?
You wouldn't need any signs to get off my lawn. You could just plant one of those.
All right. Okay. And last for me, but not least, my favorite.
And not her state flower, which has the blue
It's
bonnet.
not my state flower. I get it. I get it.
You've made the blue bonnet sad.
The calla lily is my favorite. Ever since, and I'm not kidding, when I first got here, one of the first TV shows that I saw was on the Superstation, WTBS, and it was the Munsters.
Nice.
And Lily would go to bed with one of these flowers. And I was like, what the hell is that? I did not know what it was. And I finally asked Dad, what is that? And he said, that's a flower. It's like, that's not a flower. That is not a flower. It's like, that's a flower. And he goes to the encyclopedia to look it up, you know. And of course, it has just a little blurb and everything. But he tells me the name. This is what it's called. And so on the next trip to the library, because my dad would take me and my sister every Saturday or so. And we went to the library and everything. I went up there and I said, I need to find pictures of this. And I showed her the name. And she said, you'll find that in this section. You know, go to the card catalog. Yeah, card catalog. And look through the section and look for books on lilies. And so I did. And I searched and I searched and I searched and I saw it. I said, that's it. That's the flower. And yes, this was well before the internet where one could just ask Siri, hey, what is, you know, or send a picture to Google, you know, to identify or whatever. You actually had to go through several steps in order to find what you were looking for at a library. And when I found it, I was like, this is it. This is the flower. This is what Lily goes to bed clutching. And I always thought that it was so cool that she slept with a flower. It became my favorite flower. I had it when I got married. That's what I carried. I carried a bouquet of calla lilies. And I had them growing in my first home all along the front of the house. And now I have several, you know, on the lawn here. But I've always enjoyed it, and that's how I fell in love with that flower, because I saw it in the Munsters.
Nice. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be either your number 2 or your number 1, because as soon as I said I hate lilies, I could feel the side eye when you said what kind of lily?
What kind? Well, the thing is, I did not associate the lily with death. I just thought that it was so cool that she went to bed with a flower. But
Well, I mean,
then later on, I realized, oh, she's sleeping like the dead. But it's still my favorite flower.
yeah, it was symbolism for sure. You know?
It was.
I'm just throwing that out there. It was symbolism. So,
But yeah, so. All righty. How about you? What's your number 1?
my number 1 is probably something nobody would have thought to have ever made a number 1 for their most favorite flower, and that would be the Venus flytrap, because it does in fact flower.
I guess you saw my morning tweet with it, right? This past week.
I did not know. If I did, I didn't notice it. So
Yeah,
normally I notice your morning tweets. I don't remember seeing a Venus flytrap on there. So I must have missed it.
I don't know. I'd have to look. But yeah, I had one that had the Venus flytrap. It chooses violence. You know, it could live on soil and water alone, but every morning it gets up and chooses violence. That was the meme.
It's kind of like my whole shtick in life. Now that I make money being ornery, I get up every day and choose violence. So, well, a lot of people don't know that, because when they're grown, you know, because people do grow them, but a lot of the people that grow them, they'll actually cut the flower stalks early, because they don't the flowering can actually drain the plant's energy. So it actually while it's flowering, it actually makes it harder for the plant to trap. So a lot of folks that grow them specifically because they like how it looks when they like start eating stuff, they cut the flowers off And there's weird little rules to this too. For it to flower, it has to be healthy. And it usually has to have already undergone at least 2 cycles before it'll actually start flowering. But a lot of people that grow them, like I said, because once it flowers, it takes a lot of the plant's energy to maintain the flower. They'll cut it just so it'll keep eating shit. But yeah, that's my all-time favorite flower, Venus flytrap, otherwise known as Dionea muscapula, and I'm butchering it because I don't know, but that's actually its phylum name. So
It's it's really, it is pretty, and you don't, like I said, you don't have to feed it. just so happens it. But it's funny because my mom has one in the breakfast area of the kitchen. It's right there, and there's family pictures on that ledge and whatever. Suddenly there's a Venus flytrap, more family pictures, everything, and I'm like, I wonder why it's there. Mom doesn't know where to put it. It turns out that because it's a succulent, she can't really put it in the ground because she's watering every day, so can't go outside. She doesn't want it in her bedroom because it kind of freaks her out a little bit, but she likes it. She just doesn't want it looking at her. I don't know what that means either, but that's what she said.
If I put it in my room.
And she, I said, well, Mom, you can put it in the living room, or whatever. And she's like, no, I like looking at it. I just don't want it looking at me. Okay, fine. Listen, I understand that women make no sense. I understand we're not the logical sex, but even I have issues trying to understand my mom when she says things like this, and I just let it go. I let it go.
we actually had one when David and Kyle were little, and it was their favorite thing in the whole house. And it was funny because Kyle was always the rambunctious one. He would go out and find bugs and bring them in to feed them to the damn thing. And then just watch and squeal when it ate them. Like, yeah, you're gonna be a handful. And he was, but
yeah, I don't know where my mom got the little Venus flytrap, and it's a small one, which is why I missed it. And I didn't notice it till like my 3rd day there. it's just tiny because she's got photographs everywhere, and on that ledge, it's all photographs and framed and everything. And suddenly there's this little Venus. I thought, at first I thought it was like a fake one because they look fake.
Yeah,
they look really fake.
But I mean, then again, most succulents look fake. That's the weird thing about succulents. They honestly look like wax plants.
Yeah, they do. And it's and I always try to like I end up killing them too. And I'm like, I'm just not going to try anymore. I'm done. But yeah, she also has a little, a pitcher plant, but she likes that one because it looks like somebody with a very heavy jowl laughing at her. So she likes that one. She has that one in the master bathroom, on the, so she can, whatever. But she likes her pitcher plant. But the Venus flytrap, she's like, I just don't want it staring back at me. And I'm like, it doesn't stare. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. She's weird.
Well,
I guess that's it, though.
That's it. We have come to the end of our time together, ma'am.
Yeah.
For this week, anyway.
Oh yeah, and I almost didn't make it because of the damn weather, but
you get to put up with me twice next week.
Oh, that's right. The second Wednesday. Wait, no, that's not the
Yeah.
second Wednesday.
Are you sure?
Not next week. Yes, it is next week. Shit.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, Wednesday was the second woman. Don't make math hard on me.
No, next week is gonna be full for me. I have a podcast every night. Okay,
Yeah.
so on that note, Rick, where can we find you?
Well, you don't have a podcast on Thursdays, do you? You got one.
No.
You want something else I don't know about.
No, but I have Spirited Books this Monday. I have
Spirit
Cocktail
Books on
Lounge.
Yeah.
And then, so 4 out of the 5 days.
It's what happens when you get popular, ma'am.
I am not popular.
437 of our friends would disagree with you.
Anyway, tell us where we can find you.
It's a trap. Don't look for me. You can find me at RowdyRick73 on most social media platforms. You can find me tomorrow night pushing buttons for the Front Porch Forensics crew, and then I will be off on Sunday night. You can find me Monday night after these two wrap up, doing the America Off the Rails show before we hand things over to the SHR Media crew. Tuesday night, doing the Manorama panel. Wednesday, kicking things off with the new show Inquiry, which kicks off this coming week at 7 p.m. Eastern every other Wednesday night now. And then we'll go into Toxic Masculinity, and I'll be there for that. And then pushing buttons for everything else or hosting everything else. We usually run programming depending on who's available until about 2 a.m. on Thursdays. Then back around doing pushing for Disasters in the Making on Thursday. Then hanging out with Jen as long as she's available. Bug was under the weather this past week, plus some weather stuff was giving her fits, so we weren't able to do the show. And then Friday back around doing this thing with you. And then next Saturday, we will be doing a juxtaposition. And sometime, as soon as we can confirm it, we have another show coming online. I'm not saying anything else until we've confirmed everything, but it's kind of a big deal. And you already know who it is, so you hush.
Yes, I do. I'm not saying a word.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where you can find me. And when I'm not doing all that, I also contribute to misfitspolitics.com, twitchy.com, loftusparty.com, and I produce a Loftus Party podcast, which usually drops on Tuesdays because it's not like I don't work enough. Anyway. That's it, folks. That's our Friday. John has requested a hiatus. Started talking like Porky the Pig there for a second. So he will determine he will determine when Going Mental comes back. You actually did that really well. I'm sad. I've never been able to do that. At least not on purpose. I can do it accidentally all the time, but never on purpose. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye-bye.